Yo, what is up, guys? It's Pedro here. So the Washington Commanders got some good news in terms of their playoff hopes and their playoff seeding hopes yesterday with the Thursday Night Football game. We'll be talking about that in today's video. If you guys are new, make sure to subscribe, hit that like button and that notification bell as well. We're trying to hit 15K subscribers by the end of the year. It's going to be tough, but if you haven't subscribed already, go ahead and do it. It's free. It takes 1 second. Less than 40% of you guys who watch are subscribed. So yesterday, the Lions played the Packers. And if you didn't know, we needed the Packers to lose that game. We're in a, battle with them for that 6th seed. And also, if you did not know, that is a major thing. I mean, I know some people want to play the Eagles, but I rather play the Seahawks and the Bucks, at least early on, than the Eagles. If you win that game, you might have to play the Eagles the next round, but I don't know. I just rather be able to play the Bucks or the Seahawks in round one and get a playoff win, which we haven't had since 2005, than play the Eagles in the first round. We'll see, what happens, but I did make a whole video breaking down everything earlier on this week. I believe it was on Sunday or Monday, maybe Saturday, I don't know, in the last week or so. Less than a week ago I posted that, so make sure you guys go ahead and check that out. Yeah, it was not even Sunday, it was Monday or Tuesday because they played on Sunday. But yeah, the Commanders, they need the Packers to lose, and they do have, I did look at it, or I saw someone on Twitter say they do have the tiebreaker on the Packers, so that's really good in terms of their playoff chances. And right now, if you look at the seeding, the Lions have an 80% chance of getting that 1 seed. The Eagles have an 82%. This is according to ESPN Analytics, so take it with a grain of salt. But they have an 82% chance, the Eagles, of getting that 2 seed. And the Vikings are the next highest team in terms of record, but they also, I believe they are, but they have a 60% of the 5 seed because they're not going to win the division because the Lions are in that division unless something crazy happens. And the Eagles, we talked about that. So it's the Vikings at the 5th seed, the Packers at the 6th seed, and the Commanders at the 7th seed. So yesterday, with the Packers losing, that helped out the Commanders a little bit. So before, the Commanders even had a lower chance. Right now, they have a 24% chance. Just a 24% chance of getting that 6th seed, which again before was lower. And if they continue to win, they will have a shot to get that that 6th seed, which again is a big deal. So they play the Saints. If you win that game, you're doing really well. You're in a good spot. But you got to win that game. Then you play the Eagles at home. That's going to be a tough game, but maybe you win that. Then you play the Falcons, and then you play the Cowboys. You win 3 out of those games, you are 11-6, which I think is a very realistic possibility for the Commanders. You look at the Packers right now. They are sitting at, let me pull it up. They're sitting at 9-4, so they're a game above, ahead of the Washington Commanders. Let's look at their schedule, though. And sorry, I'm recording on my phone, feeling a little bit lazy. But let's go ahead and look at the Packers' schedule. So obviously, they just played the Lions, and it was a close game. The Packers are a good team. Shout out to my friend Taylor, who's a big Packers fan, and a lot of Packers fans, honestly, around here. They got a pretty big fan base. But they play the Seahawks Sunday night. That's a game that they probably will win, but it's not a give me, and it's also at Seattle, which is one of the toughest places to play at. So I think that's probably like a 60-40-ish game. Like probably the Packers have the edge there, but not by much. And they play the Saints at home. They'll probably get that game. Then they play the Vikings away. Let's count that as a loss. And then they play the Bears at home. So in terms of home, I'm saying the Packers at home, and the Vikings game is away for the Packers, and they play at home against the Saints, and then away against the Seahawks, like I said earlier. So let's say they win 2 out of the next 4, which I think is probably what ends up happening. I think, the Seahawks game, they'll probably win that one, but it's like a 50-50 again. A little bit over 50% chance. The Saints, they'll probably win that, but who knows? And then I think they'll lose that Vikings game. And then the Packers-Bears game, I would probably lean Packers, but it's a division rival. And even though the Packers own the Bears, you never know. So that's why I think they'll win 2 out of those 4. If they win 2 out of those 4, they get to 11 wins. And the Commanders If they win 3, like I talked about earlier, then they would have 11, and the Commanders would have the tiebreaker, and they would get the 6th seed, more likely than not, because the Vikings would, in this scenario, they would be beating the Packers once, and that already pretty much takes the Commanders out of the 5th seed running, and the Vikings have some other teams on the schedule that they'll probably beat. So that's what needs to happen. The Washington Commanders need to win one more game than the Packers in the remaining 4. So the Commanders have a bye week this week, and the Packers already played. They played yesterday. So they have the same amount of games played right now, 13 games. They both got 4 games. They both play the Saints remaining on their schedule. And then, they both have some tough teams. Like we play the Eagles, they play the Vikings. I think our schedule is probably a little bit easier, but it's honestly a pretty similar schedule if you look at it. Like we're both playing a tough team. We're playing the Eagles, which is a little bit tougher than them. They're playing the Vikings. We play the Falcons. They play the Seahawks. I would probably say the Falcons is a little bit easier, but than the Seahawks, but still similar teams, both battling for a playoff spot. And to finish it off, we play the Cowboys, division rival, and they play the Bears, division rival. And 2 teams that are kind of like middle of the pack. The Cowboys have won some games recently. They're not great, though. We should have beat them 2 weeks ago when we played. We would be in a way better position right now if we won that game or the Steelers game, any of those games. The Commanders would be in a way, way better spot than they are right now. But they're still they're 8-5, cannot complain. They have a good shot to make the playoffs. You win 2 out of the next 4, you're basically locked in to make the playoffs. You won 3 out of those 4. You have it. I would say if they win 3 out of the 4, they have close to a 50% chance of getting that 6th seed. If they win 4 out of the 4, they're getting the 6th seed, maybe even the 5th seed. Very unlikely that happens, but it's possible if they win 4 and the Vikings lose a couple games. And but I don't really care right now because a lot of things could change between the teams at the 6th and 7th, or the 5th and 6th seeds would play. It's not really a big deal if you're going from the 5th to 6th or 6th to the 5th, but it is a big deal if you're going from the 5th to the 7th or the 6th to the 7th or the 7th to, if it's just, you don't want to be in that 7th spot. And that's likely where the Commanders are going to be, and they're going to have to battle. They'll play the Eagles if that's the case, very likely. That is what's going to happen. And hey, maybe they'll win division rival. Who knows? But it's a tough atmosphere. You're going to play at Philly, and again, a very good team, but it's a winnable game for sure. I'm not trying to duck them, but it would be good if you have a little bit of an easier opponent the first week of the playoffs, and if you win that game, which we haven't done since 2005, that's really, obviously the goal is a Super Bowl, but it would be amazing to just win a playoff game, which we haven't done since 2005. So that's kind of where my head's at, but it was a good step yesterday with the Lions winning, and now it just continue to root for the Packers to lose. So yeah, the Saints game that they play, rooting for them there, or rooting for the Saints there, rooting for the Seahawks on Sunday. I would say the Seahawks and the Vikings game, those are the biggest games. Probably the Seahawks game's the biggest game. If they lose that, then I think the Commanders are in a very good spot. If they lose that and the Commanders beat the Saints, the Commanders will be in a good spot. But that's it for today's video. Hope you guys did enjoy. If you did, hit that like button, subscribe if you guys are new, and comment down below your record prediction for the Commanders over the next 4 games. Peace.